How does one counter volatility with mature enterprise operations? What is the role of operations in countering volatility? First of all, volatility requires agility of cost structures and decision making. For example, maintaining the right cost structure, G&A, cost of goods sold, and asset intensity is very important when the macro conditions and the revenue line fluctuates a lot. Faster data-driven decisions and related granular execution as well, for example, budgets, the sales and operation planning, or customer interaction, is also of paramount importance, and the changes to that are fundamental for the adaptation. However, typically, in our experience, existing business process operations were built in way less volatile times and they were optimized for scale. And they do struggle with the agility requirement because of their rigid cost structure and the little innovation aimed at supporting effective value chain decision making and execution. For example, the rapid rise of global business services, what people call GBS, hints at a viable enterprise operations strategy. Industrialization of services is a part of it, in which you can specialize and adopt processes that are more advanced. People and technologies are also very targeted. You can decouple and scale operations and run what you call an end-to-end extended enterprise while scaling up and sharing one part of it, but still having people who are responsible for end-to-end optimization through the appropriate metrics and technology, for example. When trying to improve the performance, efficiency, and effectiveness of advanced operations, one must consider what we call delivery DNA and design it so that you can alter significantly the business case. And it's quite important to understand the structure of that operations cost structure in order to redesign it. So when trying to devise a strategy for advanced operations, these four buckets, direct FTE cost, infrastructure, IT, and G&A, need to have associated design principles and practices. For example, the direct FTE cost is very heavily impacted by three things, at least. Associate compensation policies. For example, what is the experience and tenure mix that you really need? What is the entry-level compensation that, as a practice, your organization is using? Second one is bench management. What is the, by the way, the agent attrition that drives bench management? Most people try to optimize bench just by looking at the bench number, but the reality is that agent attrition throws a spanner into the works of bench management. So the root cause very often of poor bench management is not the bench itself, it's the agent attrition. The third aspect in containing direct FTE costs is the direct supervision. What is the span of control across supervision levels, for example? The second group, and here there are three fundamental buckets, infrastructure, IT, and G&A, can be impacted by some practices around, for example, recruitment and training. So what is the average time to recruit and train people? That has a material impact on the cost of your resources. Rentals. What is the area per seat? What is the seat utilization? What is the percentage of seat capacity that stays idle? And the last one is travel. For example, what are your approval policy and compliance metrics and SOP? What is the policy for business class travel? Some of those actually explain a lot of the variance between highly efficient and lean organizations and the ones that are not. So what is less well understood is that industrialized operations can indeed enable innovation, but they need stability and they need the right cost structure. Typically, when you use shared services for innovation, you need to ensure that you find and train the rightly skilled and so cost-effective staff across line of businesses and country organizations. And you need to do that fast. And doing that in a very disaggregated environment is actually quite often a problem. The situation that also happens when you have a lot of very small organizational constructs is that the attrition at small scale is very disruptive. So if you lose 50% of a team of 2 people in a certain legal entity or business unit somewhere, you actually fundamentally kill the ability of that business unit to to provide the support to their broader organization. So for example, if you're trying to do very complicated analytical support work and that organizational unit is too small and you lose half of it and attrition happens, it actually fundamentally can kill the operation right there. Additionally, the core tenet of innovation is it is sometimes somewhat unpredictable. It's not a steady state, and the ability to ramp up capacity quickly and have a very significant amount of bench resources globally that can be pulled into some of those support operations for more advanced processes is of paramount importance if the operations are to support innovation in the company. So having lumpy capacity in small groups is actually not the way that innovation can benefit from. Because fundamentally you're probably not going to be able to ramp up capacity quickly enough and at scale from very small groups of fragmented people. The other part of the problem is very often these groups can be potentially segregated physically, but they need to have appropriate collaboration tools and technologies that enable them to operate irrespective of their actual physical location.